Always get inspired when I see videos from the past. That was a great one. Lionel Sanders down in Arizona, and less than a month to go now before the only race that really matters in all of 2020. Talk about having one race, no Olympics, no Ironman, no world champs, just one race where everybody's going to be at the top of their fitness level.
Hey, right off the top, I got to say something right now. You know what the name of my YouTube channel is? No. PB Tri Clinic 2011. We remember that clinic we did at in Windsor.
Yes.
And I took run video and stuff, I put it on. I created a YouTube channel and put it on there, and that's the title. And you can never change your YouTube the original name. So that's the actual. If you go to the link, that's the actual name, PB Tri Clinic 2011.
So the
anyways,
$500 million check that I was supposed to send you for this clinic, we can call it a contract.
That's right.
I'll send you the ownership rights to that.
It's all in the name. Anyways, to answer your question, yes. I mean, yeah, for me, literally, my last race last year was Daytona, and my first race this year is Daytona. So that's going to be an odd experience. I mean, I need to do something before then because like I literally haven't done a transition, nothing. So it's like I'm going to do like a sprint try or something, see if they'll let me bring my kicker to the pool here in Oro Valley and do something just to like, you know, get the cobwebs off. But I mean, if there was one race of the year, this is the one. It's going to literally have the who's who of triathlon, the short course guys, the middle distance guys, the long distance guys. So for me, it's going to be my first test against the short course guys like the Vincent Louis, the Christian Blumenfeld, Gustav Eden. I don't know what these, I mean, I've watched the videos and stuff, but I've not experienced the wrath of these guys. So I'm excited.
Well, the interesting thing when you think particularly of the Norwegians, they remind me of a short course version of you. You know, they look like they are in pain from when you look at Blumenfeld from the gun, he's in pain and he wants to last longer than the guy beside him. So you've just been doing it for 3.5 to 5 hours. He's been doing it for 1 hour and 45 most of his career. But I am really excited to see so much talent coming together all at once.
Yeah, it's a little bit scary actually, though. You know, to think like Gustav is like a weak swimmer and he's like 30 seconds down in ITU races, and that's like obviously created a monster because he's a monster biker and a monster runner because of it, similar to Richard Murray. And so, yeah, I'm a little nervous, but, you know, I feel like I can bike and run too. And I definitely got my biking in good shape right now, and I'm in the best short distance run shape that I've ever been in. So I'm excited. At the very least, it's going to show me where I am. And this will be, I think, the first time I return to 70.3 Worlds hopefully in 2021 in St. George since 2016. So, you know, I'd love to win a 70.3 World title. That's how I started. That's what's been, you know, my best distance, what's motivated me. And so I've not seen what these guys look like, who you're going up against. So this is going to be my first time to actually see where I stand against this new crop of talent.
And how important was it to take those shorter distances? Obviously, you got on the track both for running, a new PB, 1434 or so, and then the 53-plus kilometers at the velodrome. How much did that play into the fact that you knew you're going to have this Daytona race coming up, and maybe in many ways it was a forced way of getting your speed up?
That was exactly the plan. We thought about, David and I thought about, what are some goals we can set that actually have value to our triathlon career? Because, there was this time where I was in limbo. Everybody was in limbo. And it's like, what the heck am I going to do? And I actually messaged Bob Babbitt because I knew he knew the race director for Badwater 150 or 120, whatever it is, 120 or whatever. And I was like, I think I'm going to do that race. Like, just because I had nothing to do, is like, I just want to do something crazy, And fortunately, 135, not 120. And fortunately, they have idiots like myself message them all the time like this. And they're like, no chance. There's no chance in the world we would allow you to do this race. You'll die. Because lots of guys have tried to do it, right, off the cuff like that. Anyways, it ended up getting canceled anyway, so it didn't matter. But those were the types of things that were going on in my head. And then finally, David and I sat down and we were like, okay, Daytona, very likely to happen. You're going to need massive quantity of speed. So I know my swimming, unfortunately, when you suck at swimming, it's not very difficult to get back to that level that you sucked at. And so I knew as long as I keep my swimming up, keep 3 speed sessions a weekend, I'll be able to get my swim back into my peak form. And so then it was really the one that's going to take a long time to get back into peak form is the bike and the run. And so that's when I was like, all right, let's try and break the 5K PB. And then basically let's try and do a new personal best for 1 hour. And then we ended up achieving both those goals.
They seem to have been quite compatible in terms of energy system, in terms of kinds of heart rates and the pain threshold. Did they, not too many people would put a 5K PB, lifetime PB 5 days out from being on the velodrome. I think you might have the world record for the best combination of 5K and 1 hour distance if they want to put those two together in any kind of category.
Yeah, the systems definitely complemented each other. I'd say the 5K is more VO2 max. And then the 1 hour, in fact, I'd say maybe the first like 30 seconds I was VO2 max, but then the rest, it was just threshold. So, I mean, you probably would have been better to do like maybe like a 20-minute bike type test, which then they would have really complemented each other. But I don't think they hindered each other too much. It was just a product of not overtraining yourself to death. So I kept the volume really low, obviously a lot of intensity, but I had to keep the volume low to not, overtrain myself.
120,000 plus viewers and counting. You've got to be a little bit mind blown to have seen some of the people from around the world who were tuning in, obviously endurance athletes, but others as well. Did you think that kind of a unique event would capture that many people interested in what you were doing?
I was really surprised. I mean, it just shows, I guess, the appetite for, endurance events right now, which is great, I think, for our sport going forward. It probably will have like a golden era the next couple of years because I think we're getting more eyeballs onto the sport and more people interested. And you hear all these stories about bike shops and everything. We're sold out. Like people come and they're like, "You're 3 months too late. We don't have bikes anymore." Like that kind of stuff. So I think in the end, it could be great for our sport. I know this year, if you survive this year, is the challenge. But yeah, I mean, it was really cool to see Victor Campignarts and Alex Dowsett tuned in, and just to do, I know I'm not kidding myself. I know that my thing is nowhere near the level of these guys, but it was cool that they took interest. And I even learned, I talked to Victor before and after, and he's actually got into it through triathlon. That's how he became a cyclist. But he was getting injured from running, and then, like many others, Mike Woods as well. Yeah. He was really good at cycling, and then turned to cycling and became a world-class cyclist. But I think I could sense the wheels turning in Victor's head a little bit, like maybe I'm going to try triathlon again. Maybe now that I got a little more endurance under my belt and stuff. So we'll see. Maybe we'll see Victor Campignarts. He's still pretty young. Maybe we'll see him set a new Kona bike course record one day.
Well, it's great to see new personalities, and obviously there's a couple more guys from the tour. How much of the work are you doing on the trainer? We know that you're notorious for loving doing stuff indoors. How much of your work is on the bike inside versus outside? Because lots of our viewers today really, are trying to decide, like, does everything have to be outside, or can I do some work inside? You certainly seem to have been more on the inside version than all the miles outside.
I can tell you that you can do 51.3 kilometers on the velodrome with 100% indoor training, because I literally, my tires actually never touched the ground outside in the 3 months leading into that race, or whatever you want to call it. Because even when I was carrying the bike into the velodrome, I was worried about the tires touching the ground and picking something up. So they literally never touched the ground. So 100% exclusive indoor training, which, over the years, I've, in the beginning when I got into this whole thing and I started, and this, the whole story. Yeah. I rode all outside when I was at McMaster and everything. I rode with John Rasmussen, Taylor Reed, lots of guys. We rode together, and it was a beautiful riding area, but still really dangerous. And then I discovered, after getting hit by cars 4 times, I started training indoors. So then I had a lot of success, right? I had really good bike splits and stuff. But then you start listening to people, and they start talking and stuff like, oh, think of how much better you'd be if you rode outside. So then I start going outside, and I'm not riding any better. In fact, I started to ride worse. And so now I've gone back to indoor training, back to what worked for me. I'm not going to say it's like it's the answer for everyone. Pro tour guys, I mean, they're riding 30 hours a week. I don't know if I can wrap my head around spending 30 hours a week on Zwift. You know what I mean? But for triathlon biking, where you still have to manage with the swim and the run, so you don't have a massive volume on the bike, I believe it's better because it's much more concentrated use of your time. You don't waste any time. You're not stopped at a stoplight ever. And then you just focus 100% in triathlon bike courses, long course anyway, generally aren't very technical either. So now obviously you probably want to go outside a little bit if you were doing that race last year, that 70.3 Worlds where you were descending and that sort of thing, very dangerous stuff. You need to practice that. But for the vast majority of bike courses, I would say your best bet is to train indoors if you mentally can handle it. But then once again, another positive is it makes you mentally, in my opinion, stronger. And I believe that's part of why I was able to do well on the velodrome quickly, is because I didn't find it difficult to just stare at the black line and never adjust and just constant power and never got to coast. It was a fixed gear bicycle, so you couldn't coast. But I was already used to all those pieces from all the indoor training that I've done.
When you're looking at the three distances, you did race a little bit of Olympic distance stuff, some of John Salt stuff in your initial days of getting into the sport. Obviously, the half Ironman distance, kind of your meat and potatoes, and then the Ironman. But if you were talking about relative from an Olympic distance to a half to the long, what's the kind of distance you ride for each of those on your longest ride? So if you're getting ready for 70.3, how much, what is the longest ride you're going to be probably putting in indoors or outdoors to get ready for, let's say, the 90K bike versus the 40K? What would be your long run relative or long bike relative to that distance?
Well, first off, I should say I've thought about this stuff for many, many years now. You know me. I like to think about this stuff and analyze it. And if I could sum up everything I've learned in the last 10 years in a very simplistic method of training, I would say every season should start the same. You start as if you were prepping for a sprint distance triathlon. And your focus is, I'm going to get an awesome 20K bike shape. So for me, that's, let's say, 25 to 30 minutes. Okay. So, and then there's a corresponding training method to do that, right? And so to answer your question, so I'm training for a sprint. What's the longest long ride I'm going to do? About 2 hours. Okay. You do that for 2 months or so. You get into phenomenal 750 meter swim shape, 20K bike shape, 5K run shape. It's amazing now. So now you say the next month and a half, maybe 2 months, I'm going to get into world-class Olympic distance shape. And you take that speed, and of course you're going to have to, anytime you go longer, you're going to have to go a little slower, no problem. But your set point is much higher. And so I realized this year through this preparation I did. So I was prepping for Oceanside back in March, okay? And I did 2x5K. And it was hard. I ran 1640 and 1640. And it was hard. I was running pretty hard. But in my mind, I was like, okay, that's 110 half shape. It's not too bad. 110 half in the old world, that was a really good half, right? Not so much anymore. But anyways, now, running 1645, I don't even know if I can run that slow, to be honest with you. That's so slow. I can literally talk to Aaron. And I remember when I was at McMaster, I was training with Connor Darlington and these guys. I literally could talk to you running 1555K. We could have a conversation. And the only way you're ever going to get that is by getting your upper limits really, really high. And then you're like, oh my gosh, that's so slow. So continuing on down the path, then the next month and a half, 2 months, you do prepare for a world-class Olympic distance. Olympic distance, approximately a 1 hour bike. Therefore, I would do probably closer to a 3 hour long ride. And now off that preparation, you're going to be in phenomenal 70.3 shape as well, as long as you're doing that 3 hour long ride. But let's say you want to peak, then you could extend the mileage just a little bit, the intensity, etc., so that you're peak for 90K bike and 21K run. But I would spend most of the season prepping like that for an Olympic distance. And then finally, when your Ironman's coming, that final 6 to 8 weeks, now you do that. You layer in that really long stuff, and you're going to be so fast, though, already from all that preparation you did. And then I honestly don't think it's necessary to do any more. For me, my target bike speed is around, let's say 4 hours, 15 minutes for the bike. I don't see a need to do much more than 5, maybe 5.5 hours on the bike. So an hour or so longer than I am going to race for. And I only see necessary, if you've been following this program all year, to only do 5 of those or so. But here's the key. You've got to spend a lot of that time in the time trial position, because it's very, very demanding. Because that's one of the mistakes I've made in previous years was, yeah, I did the 5-hour ride, but I didn't do any of it in the time trial. I didn't do any of my training in the time trial position.
Right.
And then you go to an Ironman and you're going to ask yourself to spend 4 hours and 15 minutes in the TT under high load. It don't work that way.
Any thoughts of, because of you, let's say you've turned a whole bunch of zealots into spending more time indoors, and I think there's lots of reasons why, the smart trainers, the Zwift, etc. Any thought of wearing a helmet indoors, because that extra kilogram or so that you haven't had on your head for all those workouts, now suddenly when you get outdoors, your neck and everything starts, just like I have lots of people that their outdoor stuff, they start finding things that are hurting that didn't hurt indoors. Have you ever given any consideration to that?
I think that's rooted in not doing your TT work, or if you're doing TT work. So here's the thing, I did think of this, and generally when you do your indoor TT work, because you're not moving, you'll put your head down, right? Like look down at your computer or whatever. So if you want to get really, serious, then I built, or I shouldn't say I built, but my father-in-law built me a stand for the TV that is fully adjustable all the way up and down the wall. So I will do, for my TT work, I put the TV way down as if where I would be looking on the road. And now I will agree, after doing even 1 hour, what do you think was the sorest thing on my whole body after that 1 hour thing the next day?
Neck.
My neck.
Yeah.
Because on that velodrome, I mean, you do not ever get a chance to put your neck down for a single second, because you will either crash, because there's these yellow things in the inside that you'll hit to make you not cut the course, or you'll go way up the wall, which whatever, you don't want to do that either. So so I agree, it is important. I don't know what kind of helmets you're wearing that are weighing a kilogram, but generally I would say if you train with your neck and you train like the Formula One guys, you have to coach yourself like that and say, I'm training right now. I'm putting my neck up like that, out as if I was staring down the road, because I want to be a better racer. You know what I mean? To give yourself positive reinforcement to do the training.
I know you spent some time on the rollers a couple of years ago. Is it something that you encourage? What did you get out of using rollers?
If there's any secret that I don't tell anyone other than the people on this group, you should be doing a lot of stuff on the rollers, okay? If you want to take your training to the next level, I had to get back onto the rollers for the preparation for the velodrome, because I wasn't training outside, and I also couldn't train on the velodrome. Even if I could train outside, it wouldn't have trained me properly for the velodrome. The velodrome is, you got to hold that exact line, okay? That's all muscle recruitment, all your little accessory muscles and everything, in order to hold that line, because you're literally turning every 4 seconds. So you got to straight, and then you turn every 4 seconds. And all those forces want to pull you off the line. So the best way to train that on the rollers. But here's the thing, that riding the road really well is really good even outside of the velodrome. So that's one positive aspect. And then it's more taxing because of all that extra, let's say, balancing, stabilization, and concentration required. It makes you, so I literally have pushed 20, even 30 watts less on the rollers than I would just on the trainer, okay? But it's equivalent, do you know what I'm saying? So it also brings down your overall intensity, like the taxation, but it's equally as taxing. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, totally.
Just in a different way. And I know I can say this from experience now, because I've tested it all, that then you go, okay, you've been doing all this work. So I do all my easy rides on the rollers, and I do all my workouts still, because it's freaking dangerous to do them on the roll, like very, very dangerous to try and do very, very high-end stuff on the rollers. But trust me, the combination of these two, doing your hard stuff on the trainer where you can just, focus on the effort and doing your easy stuff on the rollers. You put those two together. And here's the thing, on the velodrome, on my trainer, I only push ever in the TT position about 375 watts for 30 minutes. Okay. And then I did on the velodrome, I held for the 1 hour 390 for an hour. So I was stronger. It actually was strong. You can expect, if you're doing this right, you can expect when you go to a race to actually see more power than you've ever seen in practice.
As a young man, you were obviously muscular, strong. It was part of your kind of God-given gift. It seems that you've started to add some soft tissue work in terms of, those small exercises to prevent injuries. Is that something that you think is going to be required for many athletes regardless of their age?
Well, I think age is the important piece of I mean, I didn't do none of this stuff in my 20s at all, but then you'll notice, and I always laugh, I was like, oh, these old people always telling me, all this stupid stuff, right? And I'm like, it's not going to be me. And then right around 30, all of a sudden I start getting injuries and stuff. So yeah, it's extremely important. And if I could give anybody any advice as someone with a, thick skull who doesn't listen to people, it's like, I wish I could go back and have taken better care of myself. And I met people, you were one of the people telling me these kinds of things, but I never really listened. I mean, this stuff is cumulative. It's not in a vacuum each season and it's a new season just because you took 2 weeks off and now it's a new season. No, it's not the case. I'm paying now for some of those things I did in 2013 and 14, bad decisions I was making with regards to overtraining and stupid workouts, racing in practice, go down the list, not taking care of myself, eating poorly, all these sorts of things. And fortunately, I think I've caught it before it's gotten too late. But I mean, I still am dealing with this patellar tendonitis in my knee. And I think it's difficult to not say that there's been cumulative load that is having an impact.
That's
so
a
you
really
don't want to do that.
important message to hear. And, you and I had those debates many times, and it is hard to tell a young person who's invincible that you don't need to do that one more interval, you don't need to do that one last hill climb, et cetera. So to hear it from, one of the best in the world, that if I had to go back, I might change things a little bit, it's probably a good message to some of the younger athletes that body work, the massage early, the stretching, I saw you in some yoga classes. My wife will be very pleased to see that.
Stretching is extremely important now. I wish that's a big one. I wish I would have developed that habit, not like static before, but after, getting in a habit of after exercise. I would say it's one of the most important things that I've come to now. Someone, if you watch my run deteriorate over my whole career, it's gotten worse and worse and worse and worse. And it's because my tissues are getting tighter and tighter and tighter. And structurally, I'm changing. I actually am changing because of lack of care. After, you can smash your body, but you need to do something to try and return that muscle tone to its previous state before the workout. And I didn't do that for literally probably 8 years of hard 1,000-hour years. I never did that. And I believe I'm trying to now go backwards and fix those problems. And I do believe you can fix, but instead develop the habits now, good habits. It doesn't take much. 3 core stretches right after your bike, right after your run. Those are the really taxing ones, and for the upper body. And it only takes you total, if you do all 3 in a day, it's only going to take you 20 minutes a day, but you'll thank yourself for sure. And you'll have a performance improvement due to greater range of motion.
Last couple of things that I know it's time for you to get down to. Johnny, have you got a question?
Yeah, as you can imagine, with a great guest like Lionel, the questions are blowing up here. So I'll take your lead, Barry, but we've got several.
Sure, let's take advantage, but we got to get him to eat here sooner. He's going to blame his Daytona race on dehydration.
Okay, the first one, I apologize to the viewer. I can't make out their name, but they're looking, Lionel, for some tips on how you keep your motivation on the indoor trainer based on the type of training that you do.
I mean, first off, you got to get on Zwift because you've got set, like right now, yesterday, I think there was about 20,000 people riding at one time. So, and it's only October or November now. And so, you know, in the peak months of January now, we're getting over 30,000 people exercising together, chatting. You see your friends out there. I mean, I don't know how much more motivation you need when you got guys, and it's just like a endless talent chain of people. There's so many great riders, so many great runners on there. So that fixes most of the problem. But I mean, you need goals. That's I realized that through this pandemic was, regardless of racing, this is not relevant. I need goals. And so usually I get them, I'm doing that race. But if we're in an odd time where there's no races, or there's none for sure, then you need to find goals. You need to find something, even if it's, like my 5K PB, that's not relevant to anybody or anything other than me. But I found it motivating. And for me, I always wanted to try. First, breaking 15 was like the gold standard. I was like, wow, that's a really good runner. But it was always like the A standard for me if I could ever run in the 1430s. And so then that became like a very motivating thing to see, hey, after all these years of training, could I still run in the 1430s? And so everyone's going to have things that motivate them like that. It's not relevant, if anyone cares or anything, or if it's, has any impact. It's just for you, something intrinsic. And so if you find those things, and you will find them, everyone has them. You just have to spend some time to think about them. Find that and then train for it, or do whatever the goal. It doesn't have to be sports, but you know what I mean? Those are the things that are going to keep you motivated, keep you accountable, keep you honest, and keep you passionate about what you're doing.
That's fabulous, Lionel. Another one, this is a question from Luis, and it's a question actually to both of you. So it'll be interesting how you both react to the question. Luis asks, Lionel, you take a lot of pride in being either self-coached or coached with a lot of self-input. What would you say to a 5-year experienced athlete, coach or self-coach?
I mean, I'm not going to hate on the self-coaching, because I do believe no one knows you better than you. So at the end of the day, you are always coaching you. Even though someone else may be giving you input, you're the one who's doing the workouts. You're the one who says, I just can't do it today. I'm going to get injured if I do this today. You're the one who knows you didn't have a good night's sleep last night, and today's not a great day. This morning is not a great time to execute this workout, and I need to change it to tonight or tomorrow or whatever. But you can also, if you're always by yourself, you can also go down these pathways where you get yourself into problems where, certain personalities are going to overtrain themselves to death. Certain personalities lacking motivation, don't train hard enough. So we're all on this spectrum somewhere of all these, positive and negative qualities. And I believe this is true for everyone. That's where you need someone. Everyone needs someone. Maybe we can call them an advisor or a mentor or whatever. Everybody needs to have someone who's able to look in at what you're doing and give you feedback and critique what you're doing. And because they are going to find things that they're like, I don't know if you should be doing that. That's an injury waiting to happen. Or imagine how much better you'd be doing if you did this. And you guys can have a back and forth, and you can reach your full potential, hopefully without getting injured. And you need someone else to do that. I don't believe you can do that on your own. What do you think, Barry?
I think it's a great concept. And I think great athletes have to be 95% the pilot. They need to be learning, asking questions. You were one of those guys. Simon Whitfield was one of those guys who was always asking why. And that's why you're such a scientist when it comes to the data, to the technique, to whatever the case may be. And I think that a great relationship ultimately for a mature athlete is a combination of mentor and what if, and do you think you really need to? Because occasionally, and you're one of those guys who, there was a time in your early part of your career where you took great pride in never taking a day off. I remember our first block in Arizona, 18 hard days in a row, and I thought, this guy's going to be dead. You took 2 easy days and did another 18-day block, and I had never seen another human being do more than 8 days at that level. But your body was different. You understood it. And I think the more that you grow as an athlete, and if you have a mentor or a support person that's just asking those questions and encouraging you when you're thinking, am I being a wuss here today? If you know you're a tough guy, you're not being a wuss. And on the other end, and we've all had athletes we worked with who are always looking to go to the bathroom when the hard set happens in the pool. You know that guy needs to get kicked in the ass and say, no, you're not getting out of the pool here. We got 4 100s that are coming up and they're going to be tough. So I totally agree. And I think that, you have started to find that mentorship with David, and and others that you've trusted, whether it's in the pool or whatever the case may be. So I totally conclude that, you're finding that rhythm for yourself. So no question about it. As we come down to the, sorry.
There is no one size fits all approach though, right? It's I believe that everyone needs someone. Like you should never do it alone. You know what I mean? You should have some sort of a bird's eye view looking in, whatever it is, even just a friend, someone to bounce the ideas off of, that sort of thing. But it's totally cool though if you want to just hand the reins over to someone too, right? If that's more, I just want to be told what to do, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that either. Totally cool. It's all personality. I don't like to do that. It doesn't work. I feel not properly invested if I hand the reins over completely. It keeps me accountable. But if you're someone who is fully accountable, handing the reins over, that's great too. But, and I've watched athletes do this, coaches don't know everything. You can't just do everything what you're told all the time. You need to question. I've watched athletes get injured because of this. It's a great quality to have, to do as you're told, to always execute the workout, to always do it in its entirety. Those are great qualities. But there's a time when you shouldn't, and you should question and say, but coach, I feel like I'm being very broken down right now. And a good coach should listen to you and alter things. And if they don't, find a new coach.
Yeah, no, 100%. Like, as you said, I mean, it's sort of like almost when you're with a great thoroughbred horse. You got a bit of a feel, but you also need to make sure that you're listening to the athlete. And when they're saying, look, particularly if it's a motivated person, they're going to probably push themselves too hard rather than going the other way. Mr. Sanders, it is going to be exciting to be in Florida to watch this race up close on that fantastic track. Obviously, it was a year ago that you had great success there. You must be feeling that kind of good arousal level with about 3 weeks to go before you get there. Do you have your key sessions all kind of in the books that you want to do over the next 2 or 3 weeks right now? Or are you listening to your body and just going to play it by ear?
Well, Barry, as you know, these guys are pretty next level. I mean, I don't think I've seen this in real life. Now, I know I've raced Brownlee, who I know has run 28:30, 10K on the track, also known to be a very good biker, et cetera. But I think a guy like Gustav and where Christian has got his combo of swim, bike, run, I'm not sure if I've experienced this yet. So I don't know what's going to happen. All I know is that what I've done in the past, my very best, will not be enough. So it's a short period of time. I've gotten into the best 1 hour bike and 5K run I've ever done. And now it's just a question, and it takes time to do this. I have to extend that a little bit. And so I think I'm almost in new 10K PB shape for running, and I'm setting really good power on the bike, but I might run out of time, and that's okay. My goal is to go see what this looks like, because I intend to be there in St. George in 2021, and I intend to be in the best form I've ever been in and give those guys a real run for their money.
Well, your fans around the world and those tuning in for our clinic this weekend appreciate that you're always honest, that you give 100%, and it's going to be an exciting 3 weeks. I don't think you need to appreciate this. There may never be a time in the rest of triathlon's history where there is only one race that ever mattered in that whole year for every athlete. No Olympics, no world champs, no Hawaii. This is it. I mean, it may never happen again in the history.
Let's hope it doesn't happen again.
Yes.
But it's cool that we get to be in this era and take part in it. I agree.
Well, good luck in your final training. Thank you to Aaron, and take